Welcome to episode 6 of Romance on Repeat. I am your host, Bella. So, in today's episode, I will be talking about tropes in romance books. Before I do that, though, we've got quite a bit of news happening in the Booktok community, some good, some bad. So, first, starting off with the bad, because I feel like you'd always start with bad news. The plagiarized book that everybody is talking about. I didn't even know this was happening until I saw one video about it. So essentially, what's happened is somebody has pretty much printed a book and sold this book, which has become everybody's favorite. It's like a 5-star read, and they've sold this book, and it's a word for word copy of a book that was published a few years ago, or few years ago. And nobody really clicked onto it until one person came out and said it, and they said, "This has been plagiarized. We have to put it on." They put it on Booktok, and everybody just who had the book, who had read this plagiarized book, started coming out, and they started reading the original, and it was just word for word. The only thing that was different was a few, like I think it was the two main characters, or a few of them, their names were changed. Other than that, every other character was exactly the same, and every word, there was nothing like switched. It was word for word. I haven't seen this book, haven't read this book, never seen it before, like now, but apparently it's not like it's plagiarized, but it's not from somebody else, like some random person. It's from the same author who did the original book. They've just apparently just reprinted their book and put a different name on it, which sounds bizarre, but people were like really investigating on it. But I don't know anything about that. After people said that it was plagiarized, it just sort of left my feed, so I haven't seen it since. Another We'll move on to the good news because I don't think there's any other bad news in the BookTok community. There is, apparently there was a BookToker who, to get like arcs and stuff so that they can read books that aren't released yet, that will be released. They started reviewing books using ChatGPT and sending, or like, I don't know if she was videotaping and reading these fake notes, or she was like submitting a form or something, but she had submitted something, and it was all ChatGPT. She hadn't actually read any of the books. She just wanted more people to send her more stuff, which would get her more followers and all this other stuff. So I don't know which booktalker it was, but I don't think she'll be getting any more books sent to her. But speaking of books being sent to you as a booktalker, I have applied for 2 forms. One from Hatchet, their August-September round for their arcs, and one, I forgot which book company it was, but another one. I submitted a form, I think it was HarperCollins, and I was like, please send me those books. I will read them, and this time I will know exactly what to pick out of all the books. I'll just know, because when I first got the form for the Hatchet, I just picked a bunch of random books. I just don't know why, but I didn't look it up. I didn't look into it. But August, September has books that I know and I'm willing to read, and like good romance books. So hopefully I get sent either both or one or the other, because it's exciting. I don't get a lot of book mail at all. But moving on to the good news, Lucy Score, who is the author of the Knock 'Em Out series, and she has a new book, The Story of My Life. I think it's The Story of My Life or Our Life, and she's coming to Australia for a tour. And she's coming obviously to Sydney, which is so exciting because American authors, like big authors like that, big American authors, do not come to Australia. They rarely do. And Lauren Roberts just came because she did Supernova, which is like an Australian version of Comic Con, and she just came, did signings there. Which I talked about in episode 5, why I wasn't going to go with my sister, because I still hadn't read the books of Powerless. And then she went to one of the, I think it's the only romance bookstore in Sydney, and she went there and did like a whole meet and greet signing thing. I didn't actually know that was happening, so I never saw any posts, so I think it was selective depending on like what you were a booktalker. I'm not sure, because you could have met her at Supernova, so it's not like it was a big deal whether this bookstore made it a selective meet and greet. I've only read one of Lucy Score's books. Just last week I finished it. Things We Never Got Over, which is the first book of the Knock 'Em Out series, and I'm buying those tickets to go meet her. Why? Because I haven't been able to stop thinking about this book, and I'm itching to get the second and third book in the series, but I am not going to go on a bookshop till the end of the month. So I've still got till like next week or the week after until I get those books, which isn't a big deal because I still got a lot of books on my TBR to tackle. But you bet your ass whether I've read her one book or I've read all of her books, which I probably will read all of her books by the time she comes in September, I am going to meet her because very rarely does this happen for Australians where a big author, especially they're all American, comes to Australia and does like a meet and greet tour. So I will be getting it's not deluxe package, but it's like the ticket and it's a book package. So I'll pay a certain amount of money, which isn't that expensive. It's held by Dymocks as well. And me and my sister will be getting a tote bag. I think it's a Lucy Score tote bag. We'll be getting a limited edition version of her new book. And then obviously she can sign whatever other books that we have. So I will bring all of my books that I have. I will probably buy so many of hers because when I was reading the first book of Knock 'Em Out series, I realized how similar her writing is to mine. And so that it flowed so easily and it just felt like I was actually there. That sounds a little bit far-fetched, but it reminded me of my writing. So that's why I was like, I really love this series and I'm willing to, read the rest of it because I can't stop thinking about it. And I'm definitely meeting her because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity because they rarely come. Yes. So we're going to get into the actual point of the episode, but figured I'd share all the updates on Booktok. So let's start off with the tropes. The first trope, I've just went online and I looked up different types of tropes, and one website had like a bunch of them because there's a lot more than we think, and I don't think I've only got like one page worth of tropes. There's definitely a lot more than that, but these are the main ones, and this is what I found online. So we're starting off with friends to lovers. Now, that trope in a romance book, I don't hate. I don't mind it. It isn't as well, it can be steamy in a way, like steamy not in spice but in tension between the characters because they're already friendly with each other. But there can be tension because there's all this like pent up frustration that you've had a crush on your friend and they haven't shown any reciprocation, or they just haven't, you guys just haven't spoken about it. So I don't mind friends to lovers. From the top of my head, I can't think of any friends to lovers books. I've definitely read it, but I just can't. Oh, the first one, because I'm looking at my shelf now, the first one that comes right in my eye contact is Daydream from Hannah Grace. That was essentially friends to lovers. Daydream was, they started off as friends. They started off as strangers, and then they started off as, like, they went into friends, and then it was lovers. So I'm guessing that's friends to lovers. But I can't really think of anything else, like any other books, because there's all I've read, because the next one's Enemies to Lovers. I read a lot of Enemies to Lovers, so from the top of my mind, I can think of that. My own book is Enemies to Lovers, so I love a good Enemies to Lovers. The tension, and it's just so good. Like, it's just more fun because you can, obviously that they're going to end up together. From the top of my head, books, pretty much most of Anna Huang's books. I'm looking at my bookshelf now, and it's the ones that like are in eyeline. I know Icebreaker is, my own book is, and writing, an Enemies to Lovers. I'm gonna say it's hard because It's more I can't think of any scenes that are really, that have the tension. Because I've done all the scenes that I've thought of, and now I have to add more enemy chapters, and I just can't think. I've got one chapter left to add, and I just can't like think of what to write. I don't know why. So that's my issue with Enemies to Lovers is I can't think of any scenes, but I love reading it. So maybe if I read a few more, I'm actually reading an Enemies to Lovers right now, Beg, Borrow and Steal, by Sarah Adams, and I'll see if I can get some inspiration from that so I can just do this chapter because I can't think of anything. Moving on though from tropes, Forbidden Love. I just read a book this year, The Games God's Play, from Abigail Owen. That was, I guess, Forbidden Love because it was she like the main female character was not supposed to fall in love with the Greek god Hades, and she did. So I guess it's Forbidden Love. But I don't mind a Forbidden Love because it makes it interesting, I guess. It sometimes Forbidden Love can be with enemies to lovers as well. Most of these tropes mix in. So enemies to lovers and Forbidden Love, they sort of tie in together. So it's like they are enemies, they fall in love, but then they can't really be together. But there's obviously heaps of movies like that as well. From the top of my head, can't think of any, but I guess The Games God's Play was one. Because, yeah, she wasn't supposed to fall in love with Hades, but she did, and it just blew up in their faces. But the second book is coming out, which I'm very excited about. So that's Forbidden Love I quite like, but it doesn't come up a lot for me in what I read. Next one, I wrote down Secret Identity. Now, this isn't a popular thing. I feel like have hardly read any Secret Identity ones, but it essentially is, well, I guess like the example it gave was a royal that's like in hiding and pretends to be a civilian. So the royal, I guess that is like a secret identity where the girl falls in love with the prince, but she doesn't know that he's a prince. And yeah, I feel like I've read something like that though, but I can't think of it now that I say it like that. But Secret Identity, probably not my favorite, and I wouldn't reach for a book like that just because it just doesn't rock my boat. Forks Proximity, absolutely. It goes hand in hand with enemies to lovers. Like, you want one bed. That's a trope too, apparently, but I feel like one bed ties in with the forced proximity. But one bed, you want that one bed in that hotel or that motel. They always end up in a motel, some shitty place where he has to be close to her because he has to protect her. You want that one bed. That is forced proximity. You want them to be just stuck in a room. I don't know. That stuff, especially in enemies to lovers, is absolutely perfect. I know the one bed trope has come up quite a bit, but the first one that comes to mind, Akamaf, which is A Court of Mist and Fury, the second book to the ACOTAR series. There was one bed. I think it was Akamaf. It was. There was one bed, and I'm not going to say what happened in the seed, but that was fun to read because they're supposed to, they didn't, well, they hated each other, but they didn't. But she was in love with somebody else, and yet she had to sleep in the same bed, and it was just, yeah, that stuff is all very fun. Especially when there's like, sometimes the forced proximity is when they are enemies, so there's no sort of tension yet or anything like that. There's tension of hatred, not love yet. Those are fun too because the banter is really good in scenes like that, and I've got quite a few scenes like that in my book because I just love the banter. Like, it's not really the falling in love part that I'm rushing to. I just want to show that banter and that just sort of that hatred. You can tell that they don't like each other. I don't want it to be like, oh, they're forced to be in a room together, but they seem okay with it. I want hardcore, just them yelling at each other almost, just giving each other shit. There's only so much shit that I can do though, because I don't want to like take it too far and then other people who are reading my book say like either weirdly or they get offended. I don't know. But yeah, so that forced proximity is definitely a good one. Best friend's sibling. This one's a good one too. I don't know why I enjoy these. I don't usually read best friend's sibling because it doesn't come up a lot. But when I do, it slaps. There's a new one that's coming out well, that's come out and I just haven't bought it, from Ali Hazelwood. Oh, I forgot the name. Problematic Summer Romance. I think that's what it's called. And it's the second book to Not in Love, which is a book that she came out with last year. I've read that book this year, and so this one is Not in Love. It's the main male character. It's his sister in this new book with his best friend. So when I first met them in Not in Love, these two characters in this new book, I was like, they're gonna end up together. But then the way Ali Hazelwood teased it, it was like, they have like sort of a connection, but there's a big age difference, so it just didn't seem like she was going to do it, and she sort of shut that down almost straight away in Not in Love. But now she's written a whole book about it, so very excited to read that. Definitely will be buying that at my bookshop. But yes, best friend siblings, if done good, it can be good, because sometimes they take it a little bit too much, and it just doesn't work out, and it's like, well, no, why would you do that? Like, why would you sleep with your brother's best friend, or why would you do the vice versa? Like, sometimes it just doesn't make any sense. So if done really good and correctly, I should say, it turns out good. Second Chance. I have mixed reviews about Second Chance. I don't know. Yeah, I really don't have anything to say on it apart from it's good, but at the same time, it's like some Second Chance books are ridiculous. Like, I can't remember any from the top of my head, but like, he can cheat or she can cheat, and yet their love is apparently so strong that cheating doesn't matter. It's like, why? Why would you? Why? Like, why? So, Second Chance depends on the second chance. I know I've read some Second Chance books, I can't think of them, but if I know that I haven't read anything with cheating, but I think something would happen either when they're teenagers, when they're kids, or college, and then as adults, you know, they get the second chance. But usually it's not my cup of tea, because some people just take it a little bit too far, and it's like, no, you're not supposed to condone cheating, or all the other dark stuff. I don't know, but yeah, second chance is more like I should rank these actually. I'll rank them at the end, but yeah, not on the top of my list. Fake relationships. These ones are good. They're usually in an enemies to lovers. Well, actually, they're either friends to lovers or enemies to lovers tropes, and fake relationships are in that. Personally, I prefer them in an enemies to lovers, because it's just more fun that way. Again, with the banter, it's just fun because they don't want to be in the same room as each other, or they don't want to really hang out and pretend to be in love, but they are. So I do like a fake relationship if done well, because sometimes the fake relationship can be a little bit far-fetched, and it's like, well, no, that's not realistic, it just doesn't make any sense. So if done well, I enjoy a fake relationship trope, and a lot of books that I've read, which is, I don't know why people tend to go towards the fake relationship trope, but a lot of books that I've read have that trope. It can be even the smallest thing. And what book did I just finish? And it was the fake relationship. Things We Never Got Over from Lucy Score. That wasn't like, it was, the trope wasn't, it was fake relationship, but it was only a small part of the book, and the way that the two characters were, it just didn't seem like a fake relationship at all. Even so, usually fake relationships to me is that they're, lovey-dovey in the public, and then once they're behind closed doors, they're like, separated, they don't really care about each other, da da da, and then that slowly builds up. But this one, they started pretending after they actually got together, but they didn't like each other. So it was like a one night stand, but then they didn't like each other, and then they're in this fake relationship for the main female character's parents, and so her parents don't think she's struggling with the fake relationship and Things We Never Got Over. It was the smallest part of the book. It never really felt like a fake relationship. It just felt like I don't even know what it felt like, but they were not hating each other behind closed doors. They were doing relationship in the public and behind closed doors. So it wasn't really fake relationship trope, but I guess it's classified as that. The next one, tying into when I said one night stand, is the one night stand trope. I do enjoy these because they have the one night stand, and usually it's fun when they meet at like a new job, or she's like, he or she is the new boss, and they're like, oh my god, I slept with you and now you're my boss, or now I work with you. And those ones are fun. Usually, actually, I've read one that was friends to lovers, but usually it's enemies to lovers. But the Love Wager from Lynn Painter, that one was a friends to lovers. They slept together after his sister's wedding, and then she left while he was still sleeping. And then they met again. I can't remember how they met again, but they did. And they sort of became friends, sort of like wing man and wing woman to each other. And then obviously slowly started to fall in love. So that one, I loved that book. So that was good. I did like that one. So that's a one night stand trope where I could get on board with. But typically I do like the one night stand because it's like you think you're never going to see them again. And then boom, they pop right up. And in the most like random places, and you have to like act cool, and then they're just there. So next one is marriage of convenience. Now, I have some opinions about this. Marriage of convenience, I just don't like it, and I know why. I was going to say I don't know why. I do know why. Why do you have to get married when you're trying to either fake a relationship, or it's the most bizarre thing, or he's a billionaire and you're a pauper or whatever, and you just have to get married for either his status so his parents stop bugging him or whatever. It's like, why do you have to put marriage into it? Because if like most of them, they obviously don't fail, but some of them they divorce, and then I know it's a book and I'm getting really into this, but they divorce and then they're like, no, I do want to be married to you, and then they get remarried. I'm like, sometimes it's not billionaires either, so it's like you are considered not a billionaire and you've just wasted all this money. And I know I'm thinking so much into this and it's fiction, so it's fake, but this could happen in real life. And I just don't like marriage of convenience. I'm like, why do you have to be married? It's more difficult when you're married. Like, things are just another level. So marriage of convenience as a trope, not my favorite, and I wouldn't pick up a book that is marriage of convenience. That one, and the surprise pregnancy trope. I don't know what it's exactly called, but the pregnancy trope where they just, it's either a one night stand or they break up and she's pregnant, or, I'm fine with the characters having children from past relationships because the children's are, when they're older, they're a good addition to the book because they have no filter, so it's fun. But when you're either sleep with a random or something and you're just, oh, I'm pregnant. Why? Why? I don't know why you have to make them pregnant. Like, why do you have to bring a child into this? It's if the child is grown and, they meet the person when they have a grown child, different, because the child is a good addition to the book. Like, they're fun. They have no filter. It gives a funny element to it. I've read quite a few books where, a character has a child. But, like, for example, The Goal from Earl Kennedy, that they were in college, or college for them, university for Australia. They were in university, and senior year, the hardest year, you are about to go into the workforce. The main character, Sabrina, she was going to be a lawyer. She was going to be a lawyer, and she had to do law school after college, and she gets pregnant. Oh my God, why? Like, why? Why do you have to make her pregnant? What? Oh, and look, I loved that book, and I loved the baby, especially when I read The Legacy. Like, she was a cute little addition, but like, why? And just reading it, I was frustrated because I'm like, she has her life ahead of her. She has so much she needs to study for, and she's pregnant. I don't, yeah. That one, I don't like that trope at all. And I would never choose a book that has that trope. Try to avoid it because sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, but like, why? I don't like it. And I'm sorry to people who do, but I just don't. And the last one, I guess it's a trope. Grumpy Sunshine. When I looked up tropes, it came up. Grumpy Sunshine, I do love Grumpy Sunshine. I have a lot of them that I've read, and it's just, I don't know if it's considered a trope, but I guess it is. I don't really have anything else to say about it, but it's a fun dynamic. And usually it's the grumpy, like the main male character's grumpy, and then the girl's the sunshine. So I don't mind those. But now I'm going to rank all of the ones that I've just said. And out of 10, out of 5, I should do out of 10. Friends to Lovers, 8 out of 10. Yeah, 8 out of 10. I feel like 9 or 10 out of 10, it just, because I don't read a lot of them, so they're not really high on my list. Enemies to Lovers, if I could, 1,000 out of 10. So that's 10 out of 10. Forbidden Love, 8.5. 8.5 or 9. One or the other. Secret Identity, 4. It's one of those, like, I would read it, but then I wouldn't. Forced Proximity, 8.5 or 9 out of 10. Best Friend's Sibling, that one, 7 or 8. I'd say 8. 8 out of 10, I'll do that one, because those, if done really good, they're good. Second Chance, 5. I'll do 5. 5 out of 10 for Second Chance. Fake Relationship, 7 out of 10. One Night Stand, I do 7.5 or 8 out of 10. Marriage and Convenience, 1. I would give 0, but I feel like that's a little bit hard. So 1. Pregnancy, surprise pregnancy trope, 1. Because, yep, 1. Look, I liked the goal. It worked out in the end, but I don't like the trope. And Grumpy Sunshine, 9. That's the end of the episode, I guess. Thank you all for listening. I'll see you next week for episode 7.